Di sini galat.
Okay.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधापादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। So we are continuing our reading from 16th chapter of Madhya Leela, and the name of the chapter is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit to Vrindavan, his attempt to Vrindavan. And we saw how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he goes to Ramananda Roy and Sabha Bhattacharya with a request to grant him permission to go to Vrindavan. And Pratap Rudra beforehand, he tells Sabha Bhattacharya that by any means, somehow or other, we have to stop Lord to leave Jagannath Puri. Otherwise, it will be very difficult and it will feel very empty in Puri without the presence of the Lord. So Mahaprabhu requested and devotees were giving one reason after another, and Mahaprabhu agreed. My Lord, Chaturmas is coming, Rath Yatra is coming, now it's becoming cold, better delay. My Lord, devotees are about to come, let's delay. In that way, Mahaprabhu trip was delayed. Mahaprabhu did not want to go without the permission of Ramananda Roy Sabha Bhattacharya. So then all the devotees, including Advaita Acharya and all the devotees from Bengal, they came. They spent the Rath Yatra, Gundicha Marjanam, Vijaya Dashmi, Deepavali, Janmashtami, Radhashtami, and now it was time for them to leave. At that time, this is where we were discussing Krishna Nam Nirantar Yahara Vadane Sai Vaishnava Shrestha Bhaja Tahara Charane. Then again, the residents of Kulinagram during the second visit to Jagannath Puri, they asked Lord Chaitanya, what is the duty of those in Grihastha ashram? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to do Vaishnava Seva and holy name. So the Kulinagram resident asked, how do we know who is a Vaishnava? Because you recommend us Vaishnava Seva, then how do we know who is a Vaishnava? So here, a person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered a first-class Vaishnava, and your duty is to serve his lotus feet. Before, Mahaprabhu said a person who once chant the holy name of Krishna is a Vaishnava, and that's a Kanishta Adhikari. And here is the definition of Madhyam Adhikari, which is a person who is always chanting the holy name of Krishna. And Madhyam Adhikari is a very fast, because we hear Kanishta is also very long stage, because we hear there is Kanishta Madhyama, Kanishta Uttama, various kind of Kanishta. Then there is Madhyama Kanishta, Madhyama Uttama. Then there is Uttama Kanishta, Uttama Madhyama, Uttama Uttama. And then these are 9 divisions, and then there are 81 divisions. Kanishta Madhyama. So in that way, Rupa Goswami describes 81 categories of devotees. But in general, Madhyamadikari general definition is one who is always chant the holy name of Krishna. So then we were discussing, this is from our last week discussion, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is just, I'm repeating 2-3 slides for the sake of completeness. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that any Vaishnava who is constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord should be considered to have attained the second platform of Vaishnavism. Such a devotee is superior to a neophyte Vaishnava who has just learned to chant the holy name of the Lord. Again, this is Saraswati Thakur's definition of constantly chanting the holy name of Krishna. A neophyte devotee simply tries to chant the holy name, whereas the advanced devotee is accustomed to chanting and takes pleasure in it. Such an advanced devotee is called Madhyama Bhagavat, which indicates that he has attained the intermediate stage between the neophyte and the perfect devotee. Generally, a devotee in an intermediate stage becomes a preacher. The word Nirantar means without cessation, continuously and constantly, is very important in this verse. The word Antara means interval, and Nirantara means no interval. If one has desires other than a desire to perform devotional service, in other words, if one sometimes engages in devotional service and sometimes strives for sense gratification, his service will be interrupted. A pure devotee, therefore, should have no desire than to serve Krishna. So this is some of from the purport Prabhupada describing the qualification of Madhyamadikari. Always chanting. Prabhupada says sometimes we have desire for chanting the holy names and for performing devotional service, while other times we have desire for sense gratification. And the moment there is even a desire for sense gratification, the devotional service rendered cannot be nirantar. Um, and then we saw this long purport, and now this is where we have to begin today. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11:246, the intermediate Vaishnava is described as follows. Ishware tad adhineshu balisheshu dvishatshu cha prema maitri kripopeksha ya karoti samadhyama. The intermediate Vaishnava has to love God, make friend with the devotees, instruct the innocent, and reject jealous people. These are the 4 functions of a Vaishnava in the intermediate stage. When we begin our Krishna consciousness, first we come to we read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita and we find great happiness and satisfaction that give us some faith. Then we come to understand that we are spirit souls in the beginning, and that's what makes us feel to some extent fearless, because 11th canto describes fear comes because of absorption in the bodily conception. Whenever we identify with the bodily conception, we will be afraid because death will come, and there is fear of losing because of strong identification with the body. But when we start identifying on a spiritual level, then fear goes away because we understand I am eternal and part and parcel of Krishna. And then further, to some extent, fear goes away. Absolute fear goes away only at the stage of liberation. And then one becomes, one makes resolute vows of following the 4 regulative principles strictly, start performing sadhana bhakti. Once faith grows, then one start rendering active service to the Lord in the temple, in whichever means possible or as one is inspired. Then after rendering active service, then one finally come by Krishna's mercy, one start aspiring from a spiritual master, one get initiated from a spiritual master. And before that, there is a path of bhajana kriya where one starts working on um, envy toward devotees, um, fault finding in devotees. One start to come to um, seeing good in others, appreciating good in others, um, start following Vaishnava etiquette properly, um, makes or start performing austerity of speech, which is pleasing, truthful, beneficial. make Start making friendship with all the devotees and become very dear to all the devotees. Make friendship with all the devotees. That is a stage of Madhyamadikari, where one becomes friend with everyone. And one is very careful with a proper behavior and conduct with the devotees, does not envy. And when one stop finding fault in devotees and try to see good in others, then one can gradually overcome this anger problem, which is the third gateway to hell. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is anger. Um, as we overcome fault finding, this naturally comes. Um, and then when we start exhibiting this behavior, then one can cross over the adi bhautik miseries, which is misery caused by other living entities, which is very beneficial. Adi daivik misery is just by Naam Sankirtan one overcomes. And gradually, just this principle of devotional service, as one becomes relatively free from the miseries caused by one's own mind and body, it's a stage of Madhyamadikari, where the other living entities does not give trouble because one is respectful to everyone, where one's mind, body, senses does not give trouble because one, through proper conduct and behavior, um, one overcomes the shortcomings in oneself, which is because of improper conduct. Um, Lust, anger, envy toward devotees, anger toward devotees, fault finding, um, controlling the senses. And when one's mind and body, other living entities, when they don't disturb, then one becomes stabilized in one's Krishna consciousness. And that's a stage of Madhyamadikari. So here it says he make friends with the devotees, not just one or two friends, but any friends, because he has come to that stage where he does not find fault in anyone. Rupa Goswami instruction is also there. Um, One of the very recommended sankalpa or determination is the determination of mauna, which is silence. Silence is very helpful. Many times it feels there is no need, but one of the 26 quality of a Vaishnava is mauna, where Prabhupada says um, no prajalpa basically. And many times Rupa Goswami describes in Ujjwal Nilamani, many times the speech can be triggered by envy, can be triggered by pride, can be triggered by anger. So when so uh, many times we lose our Krishna consciousness because of speech, the words we use, and many times the word we use, if you're not careful, then they may hurt somebody, and then it becomes a distraction to our Krishna consciousness, because we can become absorbed in Krishna consciousness only if we are healthy, uh, and if we have the blessings of devotees. So make friends with the devotees includes all these things, Maitri, um, And then it says the intermediate Vaishnav has to love God. I mean, what a qualification that is, to love Krishna. So it says that Madhyamadikari, he has prema. I mean, he may not have the absolute prema for Krishna, which is only the prerogative of Uttamadikari, but Madhyamadikari also has prema, and he has Maitri, he has friend of all the devotees, and he has uh, Kripa. Kripa means he's very merciful. Means he sees others suffering as his own. And he, anybody who is innocent, he is very eager, or yeah, basically Kripa means he is merciful. He is merciful to onto all living entities, which is only possible when there is no envy. Um, um, and Prabhupada says, naturally he tries to engage in outreach activities. I mean, even Kanishthas can also do outreach activities, but generally Madhyama definitely does, because he has this natural compassion. And we also hear that compassion cannot arise till we are in the stage of anartha nivriti, because one is too disturbed by one's own growth, and one is too, I mean, there is a tipping point. The stage comes when one is no more concerned about one's own Krishna consciousness, because one is very stabilized in one's own Krishna consciousness, and then one dedicate one's life to the service of others. Mostly, I mean, I'm talking about myself. There is self concerns are so much that thinking about others is difficult, but we think about others as an austerity, more or less, not as a kripa, uh, or as a desire for self growth, which is also very important, which will naturally come. We hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita that I mean, mercy actually manifests at the stage of bhava, what they say, because one is completely pure. But to the extent one becomes purified, to that extent one develops kripa, real kripa. One is merciful, and apeksha means one is discriminative also, because if one is not discriminative, then um, one naturally can. I mean, one aspect that we have already heard is in order to preach, one is discriminative, and the aspect is also if somebody is envious of Krishna, then no need of taking their association, because the purpose of association, the purpose of making friends, relationships outside devotee circle is for the purpose of preaching. So, but if a genuine devotee, he sees someone is not interested in Krishna consciousness, why invest time in relationship there? Because ultimately, whatever we do should be done not because I need some companion, but because what pleases Krishna. One family, they were speaking and they said, Prabhu, I have one realization. I said, I just having a casual discussion, and they were mentioning my realization is I should make friend only with devotees and nobody else. I said, well, that's a step in your growth. Congratulations. So one should make friends with devotees, um, um, but one should be discriminative, because um, if somebody is envious and if you say something about Krishna, their envy towards Krishna will increase. Like Prabhupada gives an example of feeding milk to the snakes. So one has to have that discrimination that, okay, this is like not conducive. So no need of making friendship with them. So this is a Madhyamadikari. He has prema. He has true friendship for all the devotees. He is merciful. He has compassion for other living entities, and he has discrimination. Ya karoti sa madhyama. Okay. An intermediate devotee is greatly attracted to chanting the holy name, and by chanting he is elevated to the platform of love. So this is another, like Prabhupada explains, that he has great attachment, greatly attracted to chanting the holy name. Um, I don't know about all of you, but while reading this, I can see myself how far I am from this stage. Is greatly attracted to chanting the holy name, and by chanting, he is elevated to the platform of love. If one chants the holy name of the Lord with great attachment, he can understand his position as an eternal servant of the spiritual master, other Vaishnavas, and Krishna himself. So, this Prabhupada says, if during chanting, if we have great attachment to the holy name, then the natural consequence of attachment to the name will be one will humbly consider oneself as the servant of Guru, Vaishnavas, and Krishna. Thus, the intermediate Vaishnava consider himself Krishna Das, Krishna's servant. This is another characteristic of devotee. He has love, intermediate love naturally, but he has some love, um, great taste in the holy name, always chanting the holy name, and he considered himself as the servant of Guru Krishna and all the devotees. Very nice. He therefore preaches Krishna consciousness to innocent neophytes and stresses the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. An intermediate devotee can identify the non-devotee. An intermediate devotee can identify the non-devotee or motivated devotee. The motivated devotee or the non-devotee are on the material platform and they are called Prakrita. There are Prakrita Bhakta or those who are very much attached to Prakriti. Prakriti is material modes or material nature or matter. Dhanam Janam Sundare. So they are called Prakrita. After Prakrita, there is Kanishta. Prakrita Bhaktas, Kanishta Bhaktas, and then Madhyama Bhaktas. So the motivated devotee is or a non-devotee are on the material platform and they are called Prakrita. The intermediate devotee does not mix with such materialistic people. So intermediate Madhyamadikari is also not very interested in meeting with Prakrita Bhaktas or devotees who are too attached. Now, naturally, if they have a responsibility of towards a particular Vaishnava, they will help them, but they don't freely mix. Um, um, yeah. Then, okay, that was something on who is a Vaishnava and basically a Madhyamadikari. And Uttamadikari Vaishnava is like we will see when it comes, but very, very difficult to understand. Then the following year, the inhabitants of Kulinagram again asked the Lord the same question. Hearing this question, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again taught them about the different types of Vaishnavas. Yahara darshane mukhe aishe Krishna naam, tahare janiha tumi Vaishnava pradhan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, a first-class devotee is he whose very presence makes others chant the holy name of Krishna. So this is the Uttamadikari. This is very difficult to understand, but what it means, what this means, we will try to understand today. If we go far away, then we will see. A first-class Vaishnava is he whose very presence makes other chant the holy name of Krishna. Means if he is present, one will be filled with bhav for Krishna. Uttamadikari. The emotions to love Krishna, emotions to surrender will just arise. And one may even have the symptoms of ecstasy to the extent how Uttama one is. Um, so this is, and the topmost Uttama Adhikari is the personal example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Because topmost Uttama Adhikari is Srimati Radharani. And that is exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we see that what will be people's behavior when they just receive an eyeglass of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once asked them to chant Hari, so what will be the effect of that? So that's an example of topmost level of Uttamadhikari, who can even make elephants and tigers and others chant the holy name of Krishna. But in general, by seeing them, the mouth will start vibrating Krishna, Krishna. And this is very powerful presence, Uttamadhikaris. And we can see that in our spiritual masters. A neophyte and an intermediate devotee should always be eager to hear the Mahabhagavat and serve him in every respect. The neophyte and intermediate devotees can gradually rise to the platform of Uttamadhikari and become first class devotees. Symptoms of the first class devotee are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. सर्वभूतेषु या पश्येत् भगवद्भावम् आत्मनः भूतानि भगवति आत्मनि एषा bhagavatottamaha. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. So this is one vision of a Uttamadhikari Vaishnava, is wherever he sees Krishna in the heart of all living entities. He sees Krishna everywhere. Srila Prabhupada, devotee asked Prabhupada, how can you see Krishna everywhere? Prabhupada said, Krishna is everywhere. Even Arjuna or Pandavas, Uttamadhikari platform. And Krishna explains to them how to see me everywhere. But one quality is seeing Krishna everywhere. Now, recently I was hearing one lecture, and the recommendation was not to imitate devotees, but to follow their examples. But one should not imitate um, great Vaishnavas. One should follow their example. And this one devotee asked, can you give some practical example of how one can imitate? And Maharaj was saying that one example of imitation means seeing Krishna everywhere, seeing Krishna in the heart of all living entities. And Maharaj said that is the prerogative only of Uttamadhikaris. Only Uttamadhikaris can see Krishna in the heart of all living entities. I mean, when we hear it, it feels very pleasing concept. But to practice it requires a lot. One time, Roni Priya Prabhu mentions that when we see Uttamadhikari, we may see, well, yeah, now he has this vision and I can get there also. But just by seeing, one don't really realize how many intermediate steps one has to go through to attain to that stage. How much tapasya, how much bhakti, how much seva that went into it, how many lifetimes to attain this stage of Uttamadhikari or Madhyamadhikari. Madhyamadhikari itself is a very advanced platform. Prabhupada says that spiritual master should be at least on the level of Madhyama or Uttama. Madhyamadhikari itself is a very advanced platform. So the most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Wherever he sees, you see Krishna in the heart, in their heart. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. And we also see in 13th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, one who sees me everywhere and in a heart of all living entities does not degrade himself or herself by his mind. Because when we see things from a material perspective, today we had a very beautiful Bhagavatam discussion in the morning about how difficult it is to give up the feeling of doership and how Krishna is the doer. But Uttamadhikari, he sees Krishna in the heart of every living entity, and he sees everything as an arrangement of Krishna. He sees the hand of Krishna in every situation, and he surrenders to the will of Krishna in every situation. Something about Uttamadhikari. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the distinction between different types of Vaishnavas. The Vaishnava, the Vaishnavattara, and Vaishnavattama. He thus successfully explained yeah, okay, thank you, Prabhu. The Vaishnava, Vaishnavattara, and Vaishnavattama. He thus successfully explained all the symptoms of a Vaishnava to the inhabitants of Kulinagram, which is Kanishthadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari, also discussed in Nectar of Instruction by Srila Prabhupada. Finally, all the Vaishnavas returned to Bengal, but that year Pundarik Vidyanidhi remained at Jagannath Puri. This is a very interesting story. So we know who is Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He is the father of Srimati Radharani, Vrishabhanu Maharaj, and he appeared as Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And we heard about Pundarik Vidyanidhi, how he was well dressed, apparently acting like an aristocratic person. But one verse Mukunda recited about how Krishna gave the position of mother to Putana, who came to kill Krishna. He became ecstatic. So he also came to Bengal, and after 4 months, all the devotees returned back. And Pundrik Vidyanidhi decided that I want to stay in Jagannath Puri for the whole year now. स्वरूप सहित तांड्राहाय सख्या प्रीति दुईजनाय Krishna kathaya ekatra a sthiti. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Pundrik Vidyanidhi had a friendly, intimate relationship, and as far as discussing topics about Krishna, they were situated on the same platform. So we can understand Pundrik Vidyanidhi's devotion, because Swarup Damodar Goswami is very accomplished soul, naturally, Lalita Devi, and Pundrik Vidyanidhi is um, Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So it is said that as far as discussing topics of Krishna, they were situated on the same platform. In other words, you know, Uttama Adhikaris. So they can have a very intimate discussion about Krishna among themselves. Gadadhar Pandite te ho Puna mantra dila Ordana Shasthira Dine Yatra Ye Dekhila. Pundrik Vidyanidhi initiated Gadadhar Pandit for the second time. The first time it was in Navadvip, and on the day of Odana Shashti, Pundrik Vidyanidhi saw the festival. So during this particular day, Pundrik Vidyanidhi again initiated Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit took Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas means one who does not leave the place. Kshetra sannyas does not necessarily mean that one has to be a sannyasi, but Kshetra sannyas means only in a particular place. One will live in a particular place only. This ceremony indicates that from that day forward, a winter covering should be given to Lord Jagannath. This is Orna Shashti. Orna means to wear. Orna Shashti is a day when Jagannath wears woolen clothes. Wool is considered as the purest material, uh, purest fabric. So Jagannath starts wearing woolen clothes. So a festival is held on that occasion. And on that occasion, Pundrik Vidyanidhi reinitiated Gadadhar Pandit. Jagannatha Parena Tatha Maduya Vasana Dekhiya Sanghrana Haila Vidyanidhi Ramana. When Pundarik Vidyanidhi saw that Lord Jagannath was given a starched garment, he became a little hateful. In this way, his mind was polluted. So this is a very, very difficult example and very instructive example also. So Orana Shashti is a day when onwards the woolen clothes are offered to Lord Jagannath. So they brought woolen clothes and they wore to Jagannath. But generally, we don't offer clothes which has starch in it. And the new clothes we buy, many clothes have starch. So they bought the cloth for Jagannath from outside, but they did not wash it. So starch was there and they offered to Jagannath. But Pundrik Vidyanidhi did not like it. So it said he became a little hateful. Like he didn't like it. In this way, his mind was polluted. Pundrik Vidyanidhi became disturbed that how can you offer to Jagannath a woolen cloth which has starch in it without washing? Sei ratre Jagannath balai asiya doi bhai charana tandre hasiya hasiya. That night the brothers Lord Jagannath and Balaram came to Pundrik Vidyanidhi and smiling began to slap him. Very, very interesting pastime. Now, naturally, whether the Lord comes to glorify or Lord gives punishment, a reciprocation, having a reciprocation with the Lord is only possible for a pure devotee. We hear many stories, even in our Mayapur with our late Pankaj Angri Prabhu. He had some reciprocation with Jagannath and some reciprocation like Jananivas Prabhu, the head pujaris in Mayapur. They have, I mean, you may have heard those stories. Many stories are there, their personal reciprocation with Lord Nrsingadev and Jagannath. So, Pundrik Vidyanidhi, Prabhupada, very interestingly, I was not able to understand. Prabhupada writes in the purport that Lord Jagannath did not like Pundrik Vidyanidhi finding fault in his devotees, even for the sake of service. Lord Jagannath didn't appreciate it. And we see that even in the case of when Ramanujacharya wanted to improve the service of Jagannath, Jagannath took him to Udupi and transferred him overnight to a different state altogether. He didn't like it. So when he was hateful at the pujaris, Pundrik Vidyanidhi, Jagannath and Baldev came and they started slapping Pundrik Vidyanidhi. I mean, what is that? Who is Pundrik Vidyanidhi? What is his devotion? But these are some of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, which also gives us um, no scope or no rights to find fault in devotees. Even if there is something apparently wrong, even in the name of service, one should one should not be eager to find faults. Um, unless we are, if you're a head pujari or if you are the adhyaks for the temple and something is going wrong and it is your responsibility. For Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he was not in any of those positions. He's visiting, but he found fault in the Panda of Jagannath and he became hateful. He became like he did not express as such, but interestingly, Jagannath and Baldev came and began slapping him. Gala Fulila Acharya Antare Ulasa Vistari Varniya Chena Vrindavana Dasa. Although his cheeks were swollen from the slapping, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very happy with him. That's a sign of pure devotee. He was very happy that Jagannath reciprocated with him, but physically his cheeks were swollen and red. This incident has been elaborately described by Thakur Vrindavan Das, so not much described here. Every year, the devotees of Bengal would come and stay with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the Rath Yatra festival. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed 4 years. He spent the first 2 years on his tour in South India. The other 2 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, but he could not leave Jagannath Puri because of Ramananda Rai's trick. So 2 years after South India, Mahaprabhu came back and then he met all the devotees. Then there was Rath Yatra in that year. They celebrated Janmashtami, Gundicha Marjanam. There was, Beda Kirtan night, which is ecstatic Kirtan festivals, Prasadam festivals, water sports, and lot of like relishment. Practically, up till now, everything was the 4 months of Chaturmas when the devotees came from Bengal. Almost the whole 10 to 15 chapters are on that only. And now, when Mahaprabhu, after 2 years, wanted to go to Vrindavan, he was stopped over and over. And 2 more years have passed by the tricks of Ramananda Roy. So total 4 years, and Mahaprabhu could not go to Vrindavan. During the 5th year, the devotees from Bengal came to see the theatre festival. After seeing it, they did not stay but returned to Bengal. Usually, when devotees would come, they would stay for 4 months. But the 3rd year, after Mahaprabhu's return from South India, they came, they observed the Rath Yatra, and they left in the rainy season only, in the middle. And then something will happen now. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed the proposal before Sama Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy. He embraced them and spoke sweet words. Again, Mahaprabhu will make a petition. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My desire to go to Vrindavan has very much increased. Because of your tricks, I have not been able to go there for the past 2 years." Mahaprabhu says, because of your tricks, it's been 2 years I have not been able to go there. But it's very intensified that I want to go to Vrindavan. अवश्य चलिबे दुहे करह सम्मति तोमा दुहा वीना मोरा nahi anya gati. This time I must go. Will you please give me permission? Save for you too. I have no other resort. So Mahaprabhu again, this time it's been the third year now. Please give me your permission. But if you don't give me, then I cannot go. Please give me permission. Gaura deshe haya mora dui samashraya janani Jahnavi A. Duidaya Maya. In Bengal, I have two shelters, my mother and the river Ganges. Both of them are very merciful in Bengal. Mother and Jahnavi Mata. Jahnavi Mata is Ganges. I shall go to Vrindavan through Bengal and see both my mother and the river Ganges. Now, would you two be pleased to give me permission? When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Rai heard these words, they began to consider that this was not at all good, that they had played so many tricks on the Lord. So Mahaprabhu said, it's been 3 years I have been waiting for your permission. This time will you kindly let me go? I will go through Bengal. I will meet my mother. I will meet Mother Ganges. And from there I will go to Vrindavan. So they both were thinking, it was not right. He's the Supreme Lord and he's asking us permission and we are playing so many tricks on the Lord. So he doesn't go. So they felt bad. So Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy. It's been almost 3 years when Pratap Rudra Maharaj requested Sama Bhattacharya, please don't let Lord Chaitanya go. 2.5 years have passed and Mahaprabhu is still there in Puri. They both said they were feeling bad. They both said, now that the rainy season is here, it will be difficult for you to travel. It is better to wait for Vijaya Dashami before departing for Vrindavan. So then again they said, well, my lord, it is rainy season because Rath Yatra came and devotees left. But rainy season continues for 4 months. So then immediately as soon as the devotees went to to Navadip, Mahaprabhu requested and they said, my lord, at least let the rainy season stop. Otherwise, how will you travel? And then you go. On after Vijay Dashami or Dashera, then you depart. Anande Mahaprabhu Varsha Kaila Samadhan Vijaya Dashami Dine Karila Payan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to thus receive their permission. And Mahaprabhu, like if somebody is waiting after 2.5 years, and if they ask the Prabhu, can I do this? And the devotee says, no, wait for a few more months. Let the rain stop. So I don't know how pleasing will it be to us. Like, I have been waiting for so long and still you want me to wait for a few more months. But when Mahaprabhu heard them saying that, my lord, stay for a few more months, let the rain stop. They wait till Dashera, which is another, 2 months far. But it is described that Anande Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to thus receive their permission. He was like so optimistic Mahaprabhu that he was like, okay, I finally received the order. Uh, he waited until the rainy season passed, and when the day of Vijaya Dashami arrived, he departed for Vrindavan. So now the description about the Lord depart and the journey to Vrindavan will be discussed. The Lord collected whatever remnants of food were left by Lord Jagannath. He also took remnants of the Lord's kadar ointment, sandalwood, and ropes with him. Then Mahaprabhu went, he took permission from Jagannath, he took the Mahaprasad, remnants of Lord Jagannath. Kadar ointment is one kind of perfume that is offered on the body of the Lord, like a sapphire ointment, they call it. Then the sandalwood and the ropes with which that they use for Jagannath service. So he took some of the remnants, various kinds. After taking Lord Jagannath's permission early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed and all the devotees of Orissa began following him. Then Mahaprabhu started going towards Bengal and then to Vrindavan. And it is said that all the devotees of Orissa began following him. And this time Mahaprabhu did not go alone. He had all the devotees with him, except some that we will discuss. But there were definitely Ramananda Roy, Swarup Damodar Goswami, Paramananda Puri, and some of the sannyasi associates of Lord Chaitanya. Then Lord's personal servant Govinda, Kashishwar. So there were many devotees who went with the Lord uh, on the trip. With great care, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forbade the Orissan devotees to follow him. Then, accompanied by his personal associates, he first went to Bhavanipur. So those common public, Mahaprabhu sent them back. But all the names that we took, they were personal associates. So he went with many devotees. After Lord Chaitanya reached Bhavanipur, Ramananda Roy arrived on his palanquin, and Vaninath Roy had a large quantity of prasadam sent to the Lord. So we will see devotees' love for Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya love for devotees. Some glimpse we will see um, how much they were eager to serve the Lord. So here we see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he reached Bhavanipur. Bhavanipur is in the middle from Jagannath Puri and Katak, um, in the middle. So Mahaprabhu reached Bhavanipur. Ramananda Roy arrived on his palanquin, and Vaninath Roy had a large quantity of prasadam sent to the Lord. Vaninath Roy, if you see, was the brother of Ramananda Roy, naturally. Um, and um, we will see, but when Mahaprabhu, wherever he would go, some devotees will bring prasad for him from Jagannath Puri, and more detail will come. So at Bhavanipur, Ramananda Roy arrived there on his palanquin, and Vaninath Roy arranged for prasadam for the Lord. After taking prasadam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained there for the night. Early in the morning, he began walking, and finally he reached Bhuvaneshwar, which is, I think, the capital city of Orissa. So he spent the night in Bhavanipur and then started walking and then reached Bhuvaneshwar. After reaching the city of Katak, he saw the temple of Gopal, which is Sakshi Gopal, and a Brahmana there named Swapneshwar invited the Lord to eat. So then Mahaprabhu went to Sakshi Gopal Mandir, which is in Bhuvaneshwar or Katak, the city of Katak. Then in the temple there was a Brahman whose name was Swapneshwar. He invited the Lord for prasadam. Ramananda Roy invited all the others for their meals, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his resting place in the garden outside the temple. And Vaninath Roy, in the meantime, had arranged large quantity of prasadam there also. So Ramananda Roy invited all the others, and they all took prasad. Then Mahaprabhu took rest in the courtyard or garden outside the Sakshi Gopal Mandir. So that's how his day by day trip so far. First whole day travel, Bhavanipur, then Bhuvaneshwar, and in Bhuvaneshwar went to Katak. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking rest beneath a bakula tree, Ramananda Roy immediately went to Maharaj Pratap Rudra. So there's a bakula tree, and Mahaprabhu was taking rest in the garden outside the tree. And Maharaj Pratap Rudra capital was run from Katak. I mean, he was the king. Sometimes he would come to Puri and go. If you remember before in Madhya Lila, we see when Ramananda Roy and others were requesting Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give an audience to Maharaj Pratap Rudra. Then Mahaprabhu asked them that, do you want me to go to Katak? Which is like, it takes long time. It's like 3 hours drive on a car. So imagine how much it will take. Like, like many miles. I don't know. Very far. 3-4 hours just not drive. So it takes days. So then Mahaprabhu asked them, so do you want me to travel there and meet? But this time Mahaprabhu is going to Bengal, and he went through Katak. And Ramananda Roy had a great relationship with Maharaj Pratap Rudra. So he went to the kingdom and he informed the Lord. He informed the king that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in your city. Now naturally he will come. सोनी आनंदिता राजा अति शीघ्र आइला प्रभु देखी दंडवत भूमि ते पड़ीला The king was very happy to hear the news, and he hastily went there. Upon seeing the Lord, he fell flat to offer him obeisances. So Maharaj Prataprudra was very happy. He ran to meet the Lord, who was taking rest outside the in the garden of Sakshi Gopal Mandir. And as soon as Maharaj Prataprudra saw the Lord, uh, he fell flat to offer him obeisances. And we will see the devotion of Maharaj Prataprudra here. Puna uthe puna pade pranaya vivala stuti kare pulakanga pade ashujala. Being overwhelmed with love, the king again and again got up and fell down. When he offered prayers, his whole body shivered and tears fell from his eyes. So king, he saw the Lord, he fell down, paid Dandavat, then he got up, and then he again um, fell down, again got up, again fell down. So he did that multiple times. After he offered prayers, his whole body shivered and tears fell from his eyes. So just this just gives a glimpse of the devotion of Maharaj Pratap Rudra. He saw the Lord and he was crying in ecstatic devotion. He was falling down and getting up again and again. And he was stuti kare. Stuti kare means he was offering prayers to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, crying and falling down and paying multiple dandavats again and again. And then Pulakanga, Pulaka Sharira, Hari Hari Bolite. Nayane Babinira. This verse, this we sing this song. Gauranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Sharira. So Pulakanga means his whole body was shivering in ecstasy. Tears were coming from his eyes and he was bowing down again and again. And this also shows the example of Uttamadhikari. This is Shrimati Radharani, or the topmost platform Uttamadhikari, that as soon as one sees a Uttamadhikari, tears come from the eyes out of love. And some of you may have experience with your spiritual masters also. Just the look of um, Guru immediately overwhelms in a spiritual devotion. Why? Because by darshan matra, one becomes purified, a pure devotee. We sang this last week also. Um, um, Gangara Parasha Haile Paschate Pavana. After repeated bathing, Ganga one becomes purified. But darshane matre, but just by having a glance of a pure devotee, one is purified. They look at you and one is purified. So we see here Maharaj Pratap Rudra reaction after meeting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like filled with ecstatic devotion. तान्ना भक्ति देखी प्रभुरा तुष्टा हैला मना Uti Mahaprabhu Tandre Kaila Alingana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see the devotion of the king, and he therefore stood up and embraced him. And Mahaprabhu became very happy by seeing the king shivering in ecstasy, tears, Jale Ashrudhara. It's uh, like torrents of uh, tears, like torrents of rain. Ashrudhara means again and again pouring. And we will see when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Prataprudra Maharaj. Prataprudra Maharaj tears were coming out in such a Ashrudhara, Jale Ashrudhara, that Mahaprabhu body became wet. I mean, it's not just like a drop falling, but this is like devotion of the king. Maharaj Prataprudra is what a mercy Maharaj Prataprudra had. And one reason is also what a service attitude Maharaj Pratap Rudra had, what a consciousness Maharaj Pratap Rudra had. This is like Maharaj Pratap Rudra's story is very, very inspiring. I mean, who I think Gadadhar or Mukund, I don't remember who slapped Hari Chandan, and Hari Chandan became angry, wanted to chastise, and then Pratap Rudra Maharaj told him, what a great fortune. You have been spurged. आपको एक भक्त ने आपको छुआ. So what a consciousness he has. Sarvam Bhattacharya said Mahaprabhu has taken a vow that he will not see the king in this life. And Pratap Rudra Maharaj said, okay, if he has taken a vow, I take the vow that I will wear the ivory cloth, which is I'll become a beggar and end my life. and give up the kingdom. If he is determined in his determination, I am determined in my determination. I will not live. And Sarvamata said, seeing your determination and your love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, certainly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will bestow his complete mercy upon you. So there are various instances. Ramananda Roy came and he said, I want to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was no envy in Maharaj Pratap Rudra. He said, Aho Bhagya, what a great fortune, Ramananda. Your life is perfected. I am not so fortunate as you are. Please go and serve the Lord, and henceforward your salary is doubled and you don't have to work. I will give the double salary as a pension. You go and serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So various ways we see everywhere the consciousness of Maharaj Pratap Rudra is like, is does not belong to this world, obviously. And then we see his love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everywhere we see, wherever the king interferes, it's like Mahaprabhu service is like amplified like million times. Mahaprabhu became so concerned that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is leaving. Um, Gopinath Patnaik, this story comes in Antya Leela. He did forgery with the money of Pratap Rudra Maharaj. And Maharaj Pratap Rudra had a son who wanted to put him, Gopinath Patnaik, on Changa. The moment news reached Mahaprabhu and then reached to Maharaj Pratap Rudra that, oh, this Mahaprabhu's associate. The moment Maharaj Pratap Rudra realized this is Mahaprabhu's associate, then Maharaj Pratap Rudra brought him down to the from the whatever it's like Kanja, or I don't remember, Changa or whatever, from the death place, and doubled his salary and gave him a whatever, a royal cloth, and honored him with a higher post. So wherever anybody touched by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Pratap Rudra Maharaj will give his life for that devotee. Why? And what a consciousness. Pratap Rudra Maharaj would see everybody and he says, when he saw the chanting of Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu and others, he said, this is Prem Sankirtan. I have been hearing the holy names throughout my childhood, but यही प्रेम धनी कहाँ नहीं देखी कहाँ नहीं सुनी. यही प्रेम संकीर्तन. I have never heard, never seen such ecstatic devotion. One time let me see the Lord. One time let me see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Tandra Bhakti Dekhi Prabhura Tushta Hailamana. As soon as he see Pratap Rudra Maharaj's reaction by seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Oti Mahaprabhu Tandra Kaila Alingana. Immediately he got up and he embraced Maharaj Pratap Rudra. पुनः स्तुति करी राजा करे प्रणाम प्रभु कृपा अश्रुते तांद्र देहा हैला स्नान देहा हैला स्नान अश्रुते तांद्रा from the eyes of Maharaj Pratap Rudra, Mahaprabhu's Deha Haila Snan. It's like a complete bathing. When the Lord embraced the king again and again offered prayers and obeisances. Mahaprabhu is embracing Pratap Rudra and is escaping from the embrace, and he is paying obeisances and getting up, and then, oh my Lord, and then paying obeisances, and then continuously he is offering obeisances. In this way, the Lord mercy brought tears from the king, and the Lord's body was bathed by these tears. So this gives a glimpse of what kind of devotion Maharaj Pratap Rudra has for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we also see, one of the picture that we have, that is a glimpse of original face of Lord Chaitanya, was painted by one of the son of Maharaj Pratap Rudra. Finally, Ramananda Roy pacified the king and made him sit down. The Lord bestowed mercy upon him through his body, mind, and words. Mahaprabhu was so pleased on Maharaj Pratap Rudra, and it was with great difficulty Ramananda Roy made him sit down. My Lord, it's okay. Please wait. And Mahaprabhu bestowed mercy upon him through his body, mind, and words. In other words, Mahaprabhu, through his body, he embraced him. Through his mind, he was very pleased, Lord Chaitanya. It is said, Tushta Hoya Mana. His mind was very satisfied by seeing the devotion. And through the words he spoke, he bestowed complete mercy on Maharaj Pratap Rudra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed such mercy to the king that from that day on, the Lord became known as Pratap Rudra Santrata, the deliverer of Maharaj Pratap Rudra. And Maharaj Pratap Rudra, like he went after pure devotion. Maharaj Pratap Rudra went through a lot of hardships. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Rath Yatra was falling down, Maharaj Pratap Rudra was so careful to serve the Lord that he ran there and so that Lord does not fall, and he held the Lord on his arms. Because Mahaprabhu was in complete ecstasy, when he opened the eyes, Mahaprabhu looked at Pratap Rudra with a complete disgust and said, Vishayi, you materialistic person. And Maharaj Pratap Rudra's heart was broken and he kept the Lord. And after that, he has such gratitude for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he told Harichandra, what a fortune you have been touched by a devotee. So his consciousness was always. Uh, then Mahaprabhu gave mercy to he gave his own chadar to his son. Um, and Maharaj Pratap Rudra embraced his son and he remembered Krishna through the mercy received through his son. He said, okay, if I can't receive the mercy of the Lord, that's okay. At least my son received the mercy of the Lord. So his eagerness to be um, to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he got such a mercy. Usually we don't hear Mahaprabhu getting another name on many devotees, even the close associates. But the mercy he bestowed on Pratap Rudra that he became known as Pratap Rudra Santrata. All the governmental, this is very, very wonderful description. All the governmental officers also paid their respects to the Lord. And finally, the king and his men were bade farewell by the son of Mother Sachi. And the king does not come alone, he is a king. I mean, Pratap Rudra Maharaj was working, Ramananda Roy was working in Andhra Pradesh, and he was a representative of Maharaj Pratap Rudra. So many states he is ruling, and he has many governmental officers. And in front of them, this is the king, but his humility and devotion for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is unparalleled. And when everybody would serve, भाई हमारे राजा ही इतना गिर रहे हैं भगवान के सामने. So they would also pay their respects again and again to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And everybody, because here is the king. And finally, the Lord bade farewell from Maharaj Pratap Rudra. The king then went outside and had orders written, and king was overwhelmed with devotion. So when Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the king went outside and had orders written down and sent to the government servants within his kingdom. Then he sent written orders immediately to all the centers, to all the government within his region, all the governmental servants within his region. His orders was in every village you should construct new residences, and in 5 or 7 new houses you should store all kind of food. Wherever Mahaprabhu goes, whichever village he passes through, my order is in all the villages within Orissa, Bengal, wherever Maharaj Pratap Rudra, till whichever place Maharaj Pratap Rudra influence is there, every village should have five new houses for Mahaprabhu to stay. Means it's like Mahaprabhu go to a village and my Lord stay here and take this food. Every village have new houses built and fill 5 to 7 houses with all kinds of food stuff, whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desires. You should personally take the Lord to these newly constructed houses. And he told his own officers that wherever you all, I like usually the kings or in the influential people, they may tell their working class people that you take care. So Maharaj Pratap Rudra said, no, whichever village and the government officers, you all should personally take the Lord to the new constructed houses. Day and night, you should engage in his service with a stick in your hand, like a chowkidar, like a gatekeeper. You have to stand wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes, whatever he needs, give him the stay, give him the food, wherever he goes. he should be treated like a king, and you all, the officers, should become his personal servant. So in this way, Mahaprabhu is like, Maharaj Prataprudra is so overwhelmed with devotion that the Lord has come to my place, Katak. And this is the first time that we are hearing. Now, naturally, the Lord came through that area. That time, Maharaj Prataprudra didn't know, but he came to know only after Mahaprabhu reached Puri and Sama Bhattacharya was delivered. And Sama Bhattacharya told Maharaj Prataprudra. That's how he came to know. So this is the first time after Prataprudra Maharaj awareness that Mahaprabhu came to Katak. And he's so overwhelmed, and he came out, and every village, new homes, food for food, um, and you all become his servant. Um, The king ordered two respectable officers named Hari Chandan, he was the one who was slapped actually, and Mardaraj to do whatever was necessary to carry out these orders. Just take these orders, whatever it takes, um, funds, resources, manpower should happen in no time. The Lord should not be inconvenienced. The king also ordered them to maintain a new boat on the banks of the river. Wherever Mahaprabhu has to cross the river, everything by the Lord should be new. Um, new boats on the bank of the river. And wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath or crossed to the other side of the river, they should establish a memorial column and make a place a great place of pilgrimage. Indeed, said the king, I will take my bath there and let me also die there. So then the Lord said, anywhere the Lord takes bath, make a make it a place of pilgrimage. Anywhere the Lord crosses the river, arrange the new boats everywhere. And wherever he crosses, make it a place of pilgrimage, a site. This is where Mahaprabhu took bath, this is where Mahaprabhu crossed. And Prataprudra Maharaj said, establish them, and I will take my baths in all the places where the Lord took bath, and I will also die there. This is his desire. Let me also die there, where Mahaprabhu. So arranging for this is like we see one who has service attitude will have service attitude across. And we see the service attitude to serve the devotees in Maharaj Pratap Rudra, whether it is service to Ramananda Roy or service to Gopinath Patnayak or service to anyone. Like such great service attitude Maharaj Pratap Rudra had. Anything for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when we will see in the Antya Leela, if we reach there, when Gopinath Patnayaka was released from Changa, Maharaj Pratap Rudra told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should not know that I released him because of Mahaprabhu's associate. He is associate of Mahaprabhu, that's why I released him. Mahaprabhu should not know. I don't want Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to feel that I have done any favor to the Lord. He is my Lord. I am his servant, Matra. So Mahaprabhu should not feel that I have done any favor to him. Please don't tell that because the associate Pratap Rudra King was so merciful onto Gopinath Patnaik. So very subtly, Maharaj Pratap Rudra was affectionate and filled with devotion. And we see how he is trying to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The king continued, at Chaturdwar, please construct new residential quarters. Now, Ramananda, you can return to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Ramananda Roy is still, although Ramananda Roy has resigned, but he received the pension from the government. So he's obliged to government. He's obliged to Maharaj Pratap Rudra. So when Maharaj Pratap Rudra is releasing the order, Ramananda Roy is there, Harichandan is there, Mardan Raj is there, and other governmental officers is there. And he's like, do this and this, that, just build column, place of pilgrimage, do everything it takes to serve the Lord. Just now leave all the government work and just become the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No inconvenience should be caused to him. And then Chaturdwar is the next place where the Lord will go. Before he goes, go there, build the residence, get the food. And then after giving the order, then Pratap Rudra Maharaj told Ramananda Roy, now you go with the Lord, be with him. But before he called him and gave strict orders, serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the king heard that the Lord was leaving that evening, he immediately made arrangement for some elephants with small tents on their backs to be brought there. Then all the ladies of the palace got on the elephant, because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would walk, many devotees will see. So the ladies may not get a chance. So Pratap Rudra Maharaj arranged for many elephants. I mean, he's the king. So many elephants, on the top of elephant there were tents, or like in a place for families or ladies to sit and watch as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu crosses. So the news came, king heard that Lord was leaving that evening. So he immediately made arrangements for some elephants with small tents on their backs to be brought there. Then all the ladies of the palace got onto the elephant. Just the idea was, if Mahaprabhu sees them, they will get pure devotion. All these ladies went to the road the Lord was taking and remained there in a line. That evening, the Lord departed with his devotees. So the news reached, tonight Mahaprabhu will leave from here. So there is a daytime. So the king arranged and had all the ladies placed there, and there was a line, and they all were standing waiting when the Lord will pass by and we will see him. It's just like, when Gurudev comes, there is a line of devotees and they are waiting when Gurudev will cross here. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the bank of the river Chitrotpala to take his bath, all the queens and ladies of the palace offered their obeisances to him. So as he was walking by to take his bath in the river, all the ladies on the elephants and others, they offered their obeisances. Upon seeing the Lord, they all felt themselves overwhelmed with love of Godhead, and tears pouring from their eyes, they began to chant the holy name Krishna, Krishna. So this is a live example of, I mean, this is Srimati Radharani, but we also understand as an example of Uttamadhikari. So as soon as they saw the Lord, it is said that they all felt themselves overwhelmed with love of God. And if someone is Uttamadhikari, by seeing them, you will become overwhelmed with love of God. That's a sign of Uttamadhikari. So this is, somehow so far I have seen that kind of feeling. um, personally for me, only with Guru Maharaj, that, by seeing him, one feels love for Krishna in their heart. Upon seeing the Lord, they all felt themselves overwhelmed with love of Godhead, and tears pouring from their eyes. They became like overwhelmed, and they began to chant the holy name Krishna, Krishna. When they see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in their great devotion, the sound was coming, their tongues were vibrating Krishna, Krishna, and they were crying. So the this is the glance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What kind of, I mean, what this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but for other pure devotees, what kind of devotion they have, that by seeing them, one starts crying and says, Krishna, Krishna. That is their presence is so strong, is Uttamadhikaris. There is no one as merciful as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within all three worlds. Simply by seeing him from a distance, one is overwhelmed with love of God. And they were thinking like that. Simply by seeing him from a distance, one is overwhelmed with love of God. Just darshan matra. And they started crying out of love for Krishna. So, is there anyone more merciful than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who by his glance can give love of God? So, Parama Karuna Pahuduri Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabhavata Sarashiromani Keval Ananda Panda Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Shubhridra Vishwash Kori विषया छाड़िया सेरा से माझिया मुखे बोलो हरि हरि. So this is our uh, Lochan Das Thakur. He is praying Parama Karuna Bahudujana, who is more merciful. By one glance, he overwhelmed them who were sitting on the elephants, these ladies, by seeing, by his glance, by not by his glance, by them glancing at Lord Chaitanya, they were overwhelmed with love of God and started chanting Krishna, Krishna. The Lord then got into the new boat and Mahaprabhu just walking. And then the new boat was arranged. And Mahaprabhu, like, all the kings are coming behind him. And Mahaprabhu just absorbed in his Sankirtan. So the Lord then got into a new boat and crossed the river. And the new boats were arranged. Walking in the full moonlight, he finally reached the town known as Chaturdwar. And Pratap Rudra Maharaj already arranged Chaturdwar, make this arrangement, make this, make this, make this. Within my kingdom, wherever Gaura Hari goes, you all are his personal servant with a stick. Do all the arrangement, create shrines, new boats, new houses, all kind of foodstuffs. The Lord spent the night there and in the morning took his bath. At that time, remnants of Lord Jagannath's food arrived. I was amazed to hear this. Maharaj Pratap Rudra arranged for Jagannath Mahaprasad to arrive to Lord Chaitanya. Now just think about this. And I mean, at your own time, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, tonight, think about this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has crossed Katak. It is at least, I mean, 1 day journey. But for if you go, maybe use some elephants or some goat, I don't know what is there. Every day, wherever Mahaprabhu is, how many, say, 10 hours away, 15 hours away by those vehicles that they have. Every day after the food was offered at Jagannath Puri, it would go right into the cart and reach during the prasadam time for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every time Mahaprabhu will take a meal, Maharaj Pratap Rudra arranged Jagannath Mahaprasad from Puri to reach. So, I mean, I don't know how Maharaj Pratap Rudra managed. There is no, somebody just has to go there and get the food and go to the place. There is no phones or letters. You just go there, pack, go, and you have to make sure the food is there with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu before his meal time. So Mahaprabhu spent the entire night there, and in the morning he took his bath. At that time, remnants of Lord Jagannath's food arrived. Means whole night the food traveled from Jagannath Puri to there. Obviously, from previous evening only the arrangement is made. Well, tomorrow Chhatarvada. That's where Mahaprabhu is there by morning 8 or 9 a.m. whatever it is, 10 a.m. Breakfast should arrive. So Mahaprabhu got up, he took his bath, he came out, and Jagannath Prasadam is there. Just like Jagannath Mahaprasad. So this much care and detail Maharaj Pratap Rudra was taking to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Following the king's order, the superintendent of the temple sent large quantities of prasadam every day, and it was carried by many persons. And it was how much prasad? Large quantities of prasad. And it was carried by many persons because one person cannot carry. Many persons. Why large quantity? Because Mahaprabhu is going with his many associates. They all the associate, not only the Lord. Lord with all the associates should get Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath every single day. Wherever he goes, Jagannath Prasad should be arranged. I was like, wow, that's amazing service, Seva Bhav. After accepting the prasadam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and started to go chanting the holy names, Hari Hari. So Mahaprabhu just absorbed. He's like, he gets a Mahaprasad is there, Jagannath Mahaprasad, he eats wherever he goes. New boats, as he crosses, the workers will come and start making the shrine. This is where Mahaprabhu stood. This is where he took bath. This is where he drank water. This is where. So they are making shrines. Wherever he goes, new homes, Jagannath Mahaprasad is coming. Stay is arranged. Amazing. Ramananda Roy, Mardaraj, and Sri Harichandan always went with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and rendered various services. They were like personal servants. Um, and they are governmental officers also. So whoever is the panchayat, they would send people beforehand. They were like coordinating everything. Mahaprabhu should be served. This is the king's order. Paramananda Puri Goswami, Swarup Damodar, Jagadananda, Mukunda, Govinda, Kashishwar, Haridas Thakur, Vakreshwar Pandit, Gopinath Acharya, Damodar Pandit, Ramai, Nandai, and many other devotees accompanied the Lord. I have mentioned only the chief devotees, no one can describe the total number. So that gives an example. And I'm sure we know Haridas Thakur, we know Mukunda Dutt, we know Govinda, personal servant, we know Kashishwar, personal servant, we know Jagadananda, who is Satyabhama, we know Sarup Damodar, we know Paramananda Puri, who is sannyasi. Damodar Pandit, we know, he accompanied the Lord from uh, the house of Advaita Acharya to Puri. Gopinath Acharya is the brother-in-law of Sama Bhattacharya. So they were all these devotees. Beautiful. Gadadhar Pandit Yabe Sangetecha Lila Kshetra Sanya Na Chadiha Prabhu Nishadhila. So this is the last section we'll discuss. This is very beautiful section. So please hear this very attentively. Now we are going back. Actually, how Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes is he is describing when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Katak and now Chattar, Chattadwara. And now Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami remembered about Gadadhar Pandit. And then he started describing about Gadadhar Pandit. So this is something, it's not chronological that it happens in Chattadwara or there, but it happened just on the way. And Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami immediately remembers and he brings out here. Gadadhar Pandit Yabe Sangite Chalila Chetasanya Nachadibe Prabhu Nishedhila. When Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, this is now going back, um, go back to Puri when Mahaprabhu is starting his tour to Vrindavan. So when Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, when Mahaprabhu was starting to go to Vrindavan, all the devotees joined him. We saw Sarup Damodar, Ramananda. Ramananda Roy actually joined the Lord later and near Katak. But Sarup Damodar, Damodar Pandit, Haridas Thakur, Vakreshwar Pandit, the dancer, Paramananda Puri, the sannyasi, Mukunda Dutt, the associate of the Lord, Ramai, Nandai, and many others. They all were going with the Lord. Gadadhar Pandit, he loves Lord Chaitanya like anything. He is Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna in the mood of Radharani. So Saraswati Thakur would install the deities of Gaur Gadadhar. Worship of Gaur Gadadhar is worship of Radha and Krishna, not different. It is described by Saraswati Thakur that worship of Gaur Gadadhar requires a lot of spiritual advancement for one to worship Gaur Gadadhar. But Srila Prabhupada realized that in America, the nature of people and the tendencies of people and the behavior and the habits of people, Gaur Gadadhar worship is too confidential. Plus, Prabhupada could see that only Nitai can save them from who they are. So Mahaprabhu, so Srila Prabhupada, he introduced the worship of God Nitai. But Saraswati Thakur introduced the worship of Gaur Gadadhar. So this just gives an example of how any Gaudiya Math temple you go in India, Gaur Gadadhar deities. So this just gives an example of how confidential is Gadadhar Pandit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all the devotees were going with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan trip. And Gadadhar Pandit like, I will also come. When Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, he was forbidden to come and was asked not to give up the vow of Kshetra Sannyas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur considers Kshetra Sannyas to be the preferable Vanaprastha situation in this age of Kali. Sama Bhattacharya lived in this way and he has been called Kshetra Sannyasi, that is a sannyasi living in Jagannath Puri. Now please note that Sama Bhattacharya was not a sannyasi. Just last week or couple of weeks back we discussed Sama Bhattacharya's son-in-law, his daughters, his wife name and his daughter's husband who was Amogha and deliverance of Amogha. But Sama Bhattacharya also is a Kshetra sannyasi. Kshetra means place. Likewise, Gadadhar Pandit. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kshetra sannyas to be the preferable vanaprastha situation in this age of Kali. So those devotees who want to attain vanaprastha is when kids are grown up, no financial responsibilities, children are gone to their, careers and jobs and marriage and settle in their own life, and husband and wife have nothing to work for or no goal to achieve, in a way no responsibility to attain, then they should take vanaprastha. Then they both should dedicate their life to perfect their life and go back home, back to God in this life. Both husband and wife should make endeavor in that direction at a certain point of time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Vanaprastha in the age of Kali is that you take Kshetra sannyas. So we see many grasthas settled in Mayapur or settled in Vrindavan in the form of Kshetra sannyas. This is where we'll spend the rest of the time serving Radha Madhav and Radha Shyam Sundar. So Gadadhar Pandit also took Kshetra sannyas. So he wanted to go, and the Lord said, No, Gadadhar, you have taken Kshetra sannyas. You should not give up your vow. पंडित कहे यहाँ तुम्ही से ही नीला चला क्षेत्र संन्यास मोरा याऊ का रसा तला. So Pandit, this is Gadadhar Pandit, कहे यहाँ तुम्ही से ही नीला चला. So Mahaprabhu said, no, you should remain in Nilachal because you have taken Kshetra sannyas to remain in Nilachal. Gadadhar Pandit is telling, my Lord, wherever you are, that is Nilachal. So I'm still a Kshetra sannyasi. Well, because we see that pure devotees carry dham, and what is because he Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, obviously. So Gadadhar Pandit is also correct, but Mahaprabhu also want to set a good example. So yaha tumi sahi Nilachal. Wherever you are, that is Nilachal. So I'm not breaking any vow. Kshetra sannyasa mora yauka rasatala. And in anyways, wherever you are, that is Nilachal. But anyways, um, and anyways, my Kshetra sannyas, let it go to hell. Wherever you are, that is Nilachal, and I will come with you. So in one way, I'm keeping the vow. But if you think I'm not keeping the vow, then let my vow of Kshetra sannyas go to hell. I am coming with you. So this was Gadadhar Pandit. When he was requested to return to Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit told the Lord, wherever you are staying is Jagannath Puri. So wherever you go, so in a way it's good. Let my so-called Kshetra sannyas that you are referring to go to hell. Rasatala is actually um, one of the hellish planets. Yauka Rasatala. प्रभु कहे इहा करा गोपीनाथ सेवना पंडिता कहे कोटि सेवा त्वत्पाद दर्शना. प्रभु कहे इहा करा गोपीनाथ सेवना. भाई you stay here and serve Gopinath. इहा करा गोपीनाथ सेवना. पंडिता कहे कोटि सेवा त्वात पाद दर्शना. Millions of service to Gopinath is rendered by seeing your lotus feet. So, my dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my dear sir, I am coming with you. By seeing your lotus feet, millions of service to Gopinath is rendered. Prabhu kahe, stay here and serve Gopinath. He said, no, I will see your lotus feet and done. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Gadadhar Pandit to remain at Jagannath Puri and engage in Gopinath service, Gadadhar Pandit replied, one renders service to Gopinath 1,000,000 times simply by seeing your lotus feet. प्रभु कहे सेवा छाड़ीबे आ माया लागे दोषा या रही सेवा करा amara santosha. Then again Prabhu kahe. So this is the conversation between Pandit and Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhu kahe seva chadibe amaya lage dosha. If you give up service, people will say, this Lord Chaitanya, he made people give up their service. People will put dosh on me. It will be considered as my fault. Seva chadibe amaya lage dosha. Iya rahi seva kara amara santosha. If you want to please me, iha rahi seva kara. Stay here and serve. Amara santosha. That will be my great satisfaction. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, if you abandon his service, it will be my fault. It is better that you remain here and render service. That will be my satisfaction. Please. So Mahaprabhu is trying to convince Gadadhar. Gadadhar is not willing to listen. पंडिता कहे सबा दोषा आमारा ऊपरा तोमा संगे या नायाइबे याइबा एकश्वरा. So Pandita kahe saba dosha amara upara. Whatever dosh you are telling fault, I will take it on me. I broke Kshetra Sannyas, it's my fault. Toma sange na yaiba ekeshwara. I shall not accompany you, but shall go alone. So then he said, do not worry, all the fault will be on my head. I shall not accompany you, but shall go alone. So Pandit told Prabhu that Prabhu said, Are those will come to me. Gadadhar Pandit said, No, it won't come to you. You go. I am not with you. I am not connecting to you. I will go by myself. I will walk behind, and I am no way in your group. So you go. So it's me. I have my free will. I broke Kshetra Sannyas and I will be cursed. And I'm okay with that. But I want to see your lotus feet constantly. I shall go to see Sachi Mata, but I shall not go for your sake. I shall be responsible for abandoning of my vow and service to Gopinath. So Gadadhar said, I am not coming with you, sir. You go with your group. I am going to see Sachi Mata. Any objection? I am going to Bengal to see Sachi Mata. What is the objection? So all the I shall be responsible for abandoning my vow and service and Kshetra Sannyas. Let it all go to Rasatala. My service to Gopinath, I don't care. I am going to see Sachi Mata. I am going to Bengal and I'm breaking and I'm responsible. Thus Gadadhar Pandit Goswami traveled alone, but when they all arrived at Katak, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him and he went into the Lord's company. So in this way, they all arrived at Katak. Now we are rewinding in little back. So we saw Mahaprabhu coming to Katak and then crossing Katak, and Pratap Rudra Maharaj received the mercy and Mahaprabhu crossed Katak. And then Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami rewinds us back to Jagannath Puri, and now Mahaprabhu with all the devotees aage, Pandit piche behind, and they arrived at Katak. Then Mahaprabhu knew. He would look back and he see far away Pandit is coming alone. So then Mahaprabhu reached at Katak, and wherever he stayed, he called Gadadhar. So then there is a meeting in Katak of Mahaprabhu and Pandita. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath just as one give up a piece of straw. Prabhupada says we cannot understand it and we should not imitate it. Not that we don't care about Gopijana Vallabha service or Radha Shyam Sundar service, Prabhupada says this is a very intimate relationship. Just like Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, we cannot understand, we cannot imitate. Mahaprabhu told him not to come and he came. So we cannot go against the instruction and say, I have that love. So we cannot imitate Nityananda Prabhu. Likewise, we cannot imitate Gadadhar Pandit. But the description is he gave up the service to Gopinath just as one gives up a piece of straw. Means useless service to Gopinath if compared to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And which is Achinta Veda Veda. It is true and not true. Um, it is true in a way that there are two Brahman. One is in the form of a wood and one is you, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in that way, he is Gopinath, which is a perfect understanding. And Abhed because he is in the mood of a devotee. So it's a perfect argument in a way. Gadadhar Pandit's behavior was very pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Actually, Mahaprabhu was very pleased. And Gadadhar's love for the Lord. And he gave up the service of Govind, Gopinath like a straw, and that behavior was very pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Cannot be imitated. Nonetheless, the Lord took his hand and spoke to him, displaying the anger of love. But Mahaprabhu externally became angry at Pandit. This is at Katak. And then Mahaprabhu spoke. You have abandoned Gopinath's service and broken your vow to live in Puri. All that is now complete because you have come so far. So you wanted to break your Kshetra Sannyas, it's broken, Baba. Your sannyas was not to leave Jagannath Puri. You have been far away from Puri. Now you are in Katak. So it's good. You wanted the dosh of breaking your service, breaking your sannyas, Kshetra, vow, done. You are so far here. Now અમારા સંગે રહીતે ચાહા વાંછા નિજા સુખા તોમારા દુઈ ધર્મા યાયા અમારા હાયા દુખા. Your wanting to go with me is simply a desire for sense gratification. So Mahaprabhu became little, it's called anger of love. Amara sange rahite chaha vancha nija sukha. Vancha means desire. Nija sukha. Nija means your personal happiness. Vancha nija sukha. Nija sukha means it's my personal happiness. It is not for the sake of service. It is for my sake. Amara sange rahite chaha. If you are desiring to stay with me, it is for your personal happiness. Your desire is your personal. There is no service seva bhav there. So Mahaprabhu is like taking a strong step here. Obviously, Gadadhar Pandit is doing everything out of his pure love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu calls it personal sense gratification. Nija sukha. निजा इन अ वे ये भी आप देख सकते हो लाइक अ मतलबी निजा अपने बारे में जो सोचता है सो महाप्रभु इन द मूड ऑफ एंग्री लव ही इज टेलिंग हमारा संगे रहिते चाहा वांछा निजा सुखा तो मारा दुई धर्म याया हमारा हाया दुखा in this way you are breaking two religious principles and because of this I am very happy तो मारा दुई धर्म याया हमारा हाया दुखा you are breaking two religious principles what are those next slide. You're breaking two religious principles, Amara Haya Dukha, and I am very unhappy with you. Actually, it is said Krishna Kaviraj Goswami says Mahaprabhu was extremely pleased with the behavior of Gadadhar Pandit. But externally, he said, I am very unhappy with you. Mora Sukha Chaha Yadi, Nila Chale Jala, Amara Shapatha Yadi, Ara Kichu Bala. If you want my happiness, please return to Nilachala. You will simply condemn me if you say any more about this matter. So now Mahaprabhu took a strong step because he spoke in an angry love. Amara shapath yadi ara kucha bola. Don't speak a word. Mora sukha chahi yadi nila chale chala. Immediately return to Nilachal. Go to Puri and do not speak a word. Mahaprabhu told to Gadadhar, if you want my happiness, Amara Sukha Chaha Yadi, you have to decide. One religious principle he broke was Kshetra Sannyas. Another was he wanted to please Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, you broke both the dharmas. One is of pleasing me. That's what you wanted. And one is Kshetra Sannyas. And I'm very unhappy with you. Now, if you want to see me happy, immediately go to Nilachala. And if you speak one more word, you will simply condemn me. If you say any more about this matter. Means Gadadhar Pandit cannot speak a word now. And Mahaprabhu was strong now. Eta bali Mahaprabhu nauka te charila murchita hana pandita tatai padila. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into a boat and Gadadhar Pandit immediately fell down unconscious. In front of Gadadhar Pandit, he was at the shore, he was crying. He was watching. And Mahaprabhu sat on the boat. All the associates are there. And Mahaprabhu left. And Gadadhar Pandit, he became unconscious, overwhelmed with tears, grief, sorrow, and fell down unconscious. पंडित लाना येते सर्वा भव में आज्ञा दिला भट्टाचार्य कही उठा आइछे प्रभुरा लीला. Pandita Lana Yaite Sarvam Bhaume Agya Dila. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvam Bhattacharya to take Gadadhar Pandit with him. Sarvam Bhattacharya also cannot go with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He also had Kshetra Sannyas. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvam Bhattacharya, you take Gadadhar Pandit with him. Now, what will be the mood of separation of Gadadhar Pandit and Sarvam Bhattacharya? Because they are like dearmost in a way, dearmost actually. Mahaprabhu would not go without the permission of Sarvam Bhattacharya Ramananda Roy. That shows how close is Sarvam Bhattacharya to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how close is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit. So they are like such close to the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gadadhar Pandit, he became unconscious, overwhelmed with grief. And Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvam Bhattacharya, take him. You both go to Nilachala. The Bhattacharya told Gadadhar Pandit, Bhattacharya kahe utha. आइछे प्रभुरा लीला. उठो पंडित उठो आइछा प्रभुरा लीला. Such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Aiche Prabhura Leela. We cannot do anything. He is Swatantra. This is his desire for us. This is Aiche, like this, or this is, it is like this that his pastime is. We cannot do anything. Utha Prabhu, Aiche Prabhura Leela. Let's go. You should know that Lord Krishna himself violated his own promise just to keep the promise of grandfather Bhishma. Um, Similarly, tolerating separation from you, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has protected your woe with great endeavor. So, in other words, um, Krishna gave up his vow to please Bhishma Dev. Likewise, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave up his strong desire to be with you just to protect your vow. This is Prabhu's Leela. He doesn't care for himself. He cares about you. The whole world will criticize you that you have broken Kshetra Sannyas. He wanted all of his associates to set good example. So for your sake, he has given up his own pleasure. And his own pleasure is that you always be with him. And this is the greater pain for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to leave you. This is Lord's pastime. This is a sacrifice for him. To protect your vow with great endeavor, Mahaprabhu has done this. Try to understand the pastime of Mahaprabhu. Let us go to Nilachala. Let us go to Puri. Okay, now that we have not come to the end, we have come to the end of this discussion. Okay, so that's all we have for today. Let's see if there is any discussion about Mahaprabhu's travel to Vrindavan. Anything? Okay. Okay, very nice. And please forgive me. There was some devotees called and they said the whole highway is blocked and there are some accidents and it's continuous snow. Then I checked the snow in Lansing and further, and it was continuous snow the whole journey. So then I made a decision. Okay, let's do it online. We will, Krishna willing, I will see all of you next week. And congratulations to all the initiates. Thank you very much. Dhanavad Pranam. वंशकल्पा तरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णवेन्द्र की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Thank you very much. धन्यवाद.